Hello and welcome to another side play. Me, GamerWolfSix of Khemia. Before we start, if you're interested in playing this game, you can get it for free on itch.io, but they also have a Patreon, $3 a month, I believe. I didn't actually look it up, but it's usually that. So, on the last side play, we started this game, which consisted of the main character meditating and trying to push some things out of his mind, but that's enough about that, because he was talking to his mentor, because he is selected for the mission to assist him in being a diplomat to the Chemians. You know, the title of this game. But now, we're in a meeting with Amicus, Nephru, Brutus, and Virginia. And it's not going to be a good one, because if it's the same as the previous version, they rewrote this game, that's why I'm redoing it, then, yeah, ain't gonna be fun. So, reset face. And continue. 10 minutes later, I'm in the lecture hall with Vetrius, along with Amicus, Neferu, Brutus, and Virginia. These bi-weekly meetings feel very different now that my two peers are gone. Me being the youngest and least important part of the envoy is made all the more obvious. But aside from that, business proceeds as usual. It's a rather casual affair, if not a depressing one due to Adastra's lack of progress with Khemia. Not much can get done at this point unless Khemian equivalence to Amicus show up on the stretch drive and make the decisions in person. I'm not sure. I don't know, equivalence? Whatever. It's not happened in months, and Neferu is certainly important. He's not as important as his brother, the Vizier. Oh, I guess it's like they haven't sent an official delegation. So instead, we discuss how Wolfen society and culture should approach its various Chemian counterparts. I'm paying fairly close attention, as the topic is about diplomatic language. How, on Khemia, one must always use words, never fists, as Chemians see the latter as a sign of weakness and lacking control. But then Amicus and Neferu argue for a while about how wolves must learn to separate diplomatic language from outright lies, which Amicus argues is the same thing. Sorry, I'm just kind of like taking that in right there. I mean, yeah. There you go. It changed his sprites because Haps? Is this Haps's art? I think it might be. Anyways, especially as times change, our needs change. Therefore, some promises cannot be kept. Yes, but one unkept promise can be enough to ruin a generation. An advisory or even an ally does not hold up on their part the bargain. No matter how the times change, it's branded unreliable, and relations are unlikely to progress in any form. I find myself agreeing with Nephru, even though I would never ever say such thing out loud, especially not here. Earth Report 134 has arrived. Shall I brief you on its contents, Emperor Amicus? The argument is interrupted. Amicus pauses, then gives a terse yes as response, likely knowing the news would not be good. It really is when coming from Earth. The planet I had only learned of last week after being chosen, along with the ongoing efforts to integrate its humans into the Galaxias. The human who had once resided in the palace is on his own mission, trying to bring the parents' vision to fruition. I'm curious about them, but this part of the mission is not for me to know. only having been introduced to the concept, so Amicus can think about and discuss it freely. I lower my eyes as the briefing begins, yet I'm still able to feel Amicus's mood darken. You recall that 3 days ago, after the deaths of 3 American diplomats who came into contact with a human, it had been discovered that he is sporadically shedding avian virus. Unfortunately, there have been further developments in which one of the diplomats visits an establishment that serves food and beverage. 4 British officials were infected by this diplomat, and all subsequently perished in the past 2 days. The human has been placed in quarantine, and talks between nations have come to a halt for the time being. The United States of America and the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland have jointly threatened to withdraw from talks if there are further casualties. However, there appears to be no further spread of the virus at this time, likely due to the rapid onset of symptoms and so far 100% mortality rate in humans. I was just kind of thinking at the end of Adastra, it's like, well, I guess the main character swiftly went through the streets at night. So it's like, he gladly didn't come into contact with other people. I don't understand many of the Earth words, like Britain, but I understand enough. How can aviapox be so lethal to these humans? No other primates we know have trouble with it. Yet these threats to end talks of being part of the Galaxias, how frustrating that 2 states can halt an entire world from progressing. Yep. I'm quietly relieved that the hard borders of our past are over now, at least. Amicus grumbles under his breath. How could they be so goddamn stupid? At first, I wonder if he's talking about the humans, which I find unfair. Then, I realize he might be speaking of the parents, which I find terrifying. Then, he raises his voice. Raises? I guess he was grumbling before. Do you know of any sapients that can contact avipox and remain contagious after initial infection? No, Emperor Amicus. I'm not an expert on infectious diseases by any means, but considering how little we know of the effects of the virus on humans, anything could be possible. Yes, and due to parental negligence, he's in quarantine. I'm beginning to think we need to bring him back. Like, back here, back home. Also, when did Adastra come out? Sorry that I'm doing a tangent. It is, let's see, 2019, 2020. Okay, so there was like, what is it? Yeah, quarantine and all that stuff happened. It's like, I feel like people have progressed now to be like, oh, this person's horribly sick, we just get an iPad and slide food under his door. Amicus almost shouts. If my fear of the parents wasn't obvious before, now it is. My eyes wide open. The parents do work in most mysterious, by making the human appear as if he's a bioweapon. What the hell are they playing at? We witnessed it. I remember the rustle of leaves, and quickly steer my mind away from what I had heard on the bench. Virginia, who had been silent through most of this discussion, clears her throat. Virginia. Nice. Unfortunately, Amicus, we know that the parents are not able to foresee all things. We can only fulfill our own duties on our own plane of existence. Amicus takes a deep breath, sighing loudly. I know his relationship with the humans is close. Everyone knows it's based on what we saw during the fight with Cato, though how close is widely different depending on who you ask. It's clear he's more rattled than I've ever seen him though, his paws shaking on his knees. Speaking of which, you had something to announce to our envoy before the Empire as a whole, correct? Hmm? Did I? Virginia sighs. Oh, right. I'm sorry, sister. The parental catastrophe on Earth had me slightly distracted. Again, I feel an ominous cloud over us, as if the parents themselves had entered the room in disapproval. As you all know, discussions with the Vizier and Pharaoh had stalled over the past few months. To show Khemia that Adastra is truly dedicated to an alliance, Amicus swallows, as if he's having trouble getting the words out of his throat. I will also be joining the envoy, despite the many hardships it will bring to our empire. I do believe the benefits will outweigh the cost. Khemia has accepted my request. Oh, so you'll be joining us? I'm surprised. Even I wouldn't have given in to Father's pompous and unreasonable demands so easily. Having Amicus with us changes the dynamics of the Empire mission, and while reassuring, knowing my Emperor will be there the entire time just makes it all a bit more stressful. Talks have been stalled for 3 months, Nefru. Anyway, during this time, Virginia will fill the role of acting Empress. Oh good, everything will go well. Hopefully. Now my muzzle is hanging open, if only because it's the first time I've heard such words put together. Vetrius visibly blanches, while Nefru and Brutus barely react at all. I quickly snap my mouth closed. Thank you, my Emperor. I will perform my duties in a way that honors both the Empire and you, brother. You always do, Virginia. This means we should all keep in mind the fact that departure may occur any day now, depending on when the ship arrives. I almost gasp, and instead disguise it with a stifled cough. The last few meetings had indicated a fast approaching departure, but the possibility that it could only be days, or even a day away, caused my heart to pound my chest. I calm myself, remembering that my task is rather simple. No need to be anxious. At least all my tasks not involving Nefru, anyway. So wait, is Nefru simple or not simple? Now, I must be off to have a discussion with the parents once again, to make sure we're actually still on some sort of track. Sexy jackalmen and sexy wolf ladies. It's dark by the time we're heading out. On the way, Amicus corners me to covertly ask if I had a discussion with Vetrius, which I confirm. Then the Emperor glances over at Nefru, who's leaning up against a pillar. I take the hint, and as everyone else leaves, I approach the jackal, suddenly feeling nervous. Likely because I have ulterior motives now, and that doesn't feel good. But I know if I'm to perform my role well, I shouldn't be feeling any different at all. Well, hello there, Crimson One. Usually it's me that approaches you, is it not? That Crimson Chosen One. I swear I can read. Not well, but, you know. Man, to be picked up with those big arms. Hey, give me a break. I love jackal men. I have several commissions with jackal men. Because they're sexy. Anyways, right, we're reading. Something catching your eye? Alright. I need to do a bit more sultries, like, I don't know. Leave me alone. I try to work out if that's a normal thing that Nefru would say, deciding that my boldness must be causing him to react even more forward than usual. I shrug as casually as possible. Well, considering that my role is now certain, I thought we should better acquaint ourselves. Is that so? Well, how do you think we could best do that? The tone of Nefru's voice has its usual playful lent, but with an underlying pointedness that makes me flush just a bit under my fur. Well, I sidestep his theatrics, the games for now, and games now, realizing that taking the lead is far too out of my character when interacting with Nefru. Do you have any interesting plans for the night? Maybe you can help me better understand the Khemian way of things. Oh, that jackal look. Anyways, it would be rather difficult to do here on Adastra, but as for plans, not particularly. Oh, he's even bigger now. But his arm looks fancier, I think. Hey, ready to go, Neff? Oh, hey there, Skip. Hello, Brunus. Is it Brunus, not Brutus? I am at least able to avoid wincing now whenever they use a pet name for Scipio, one usually reserved for pups. That depends, Brunus. Firstly, I was meaning to ask Skip if he would like to visit a den with me. I blink. That's not exactly something you would say loudly in such a quiet and hollow, echoing room. Do you guys want to find some place to bang? On a side note and tangent, sorry. A couple of months ago, I was meeting up with somebody and home wasn't available, so it's like, okay, let's look for some place to do it. And fuck. I didn't know you couldn't go to hotels before, 3 p.m.? What the hell was up with that? I couldn't find any place until, I went to some place that actually had some place that was open, unless there's, huge convention on or something. But yeah, we banged. Anyways, I had been on the verge of simply asking if I could join the two of them, to make my attempt to feel my role less conspicuous, or new role. It's also something he'd never asked me, despite his notoriously promiscuous reputation. Is it because I'm now guaranteed? Would he have asked the same of Carbo? Imagining that bookish wolf in a situation like this, well, it's unimaginable. I can at least say I'm experienced, visiting den with a partner. Well, alright then. Have fun, you two. He seems to be a bit more aged and stuff. The giant creature doesn't wait for my response before turning and heading out, leaving me alone with Nefru in the empty university. He's still waiting on the answer. Back during my university days, I'd become friendly with another attractive wolf. Male or female, would usually make stops at taverns or entertainment venues before possibly ending up in a den. It was a weekly occurrence during my first few years attending the school, and yet my heart flutters like I'm 10 years younger, about to experience a den for the first time. Damn, bro! Going to a den on a weekly... This guy laid some pipe. Damn. Yes, I'd like to. Wonderful. I feel embarrassingly warm at the idea of a Khemian finding me attractive enough to bring me to a den, and I quickly remind myself of my mission. Whether or not I find the jackal charming or attractive matters not. I mean, who wouldn't? Just saying. I have a job to do. Nefru offers me his arm, as if escorting me. There's an establishment in the Clay District we can go to. The Clay District? The surprise and hesitation in my voice is obvious. Sorry, would you rather go somewhere else? It's simply somewhat close by, but I don't want to make you uncomfortable if you have a problem with that place. Well, it's more the place has a problem with me. They're not fond of the elite. I say it with some feigned exacerbation, not really feeling elite in any way, but I raise a paw to my mane, flipping the fur there casually. Oh yes, apologies for not remembering. Maybe we can catch up to brew? Sensing Nefru pulling back from the initial offer, I place my paw on his proffered arm? It's been a while since any so-called elite has been attacked in the streets. Besides, I'm curious as when it may be like, considering you want to go. I'm kind of curious, what would that, because I thought it was like anti-gay stuff for that thing. Or anti-university stuff, I don't know. I guess if you're going to university, it might be a bit elitish. I gave Nefru a chance to explain, but he simply smiles at me. I'll keep you safe, either way. You look so sly. The jackal keeps my arm around his the entire time, and I speculate that it's some sort of Khemian ritual before sexual intercourse, and I begin taking mental notes. Meanwhile, I enjoy the feel of his thick bicep flexing slightly under the incredibly short fur, practically just a black velvet covering his defined muscles. Stop drooling. I quickly forget about the other, possibly hostile pedestrians as I get close to the dens. They're not looking at me anyway. I'm annoyed at myself for still feeling nervous, and also feeling a bit taken by this jackal. The entrance is a shabby side door when Nefru signs in and pays, ignoring the stairs with ease, and I find myself becoming a bit annoyed with the other wolves, breaking den etiquette just because he's Khemian. I suppose I shouldn't expect anything different from those in the Clay District. Then we're led down a narrow hall and into a room Nefru rented. The lights are dim low, and Nefru fumbles with the switch while I go sit on the bed. That's a nice butt. As the artificial compluvium above us glows more brightly, I can tell it's one of, if not the most expensive room in the establishment. It's still a bit cramped, slightly tacky, but pleasant and far more luxurious than any den room I've been in. I wonder if the lighted, expansive ceiling is what Nefru comes here for, considering how large and convincing it is, despite the room being completely closed off from the outside. Still, dens are mainly frequented by students on their third warning for fornicating on campus. Ooh. I wonder if that means, doing it in public or just on campus. I still live on campus, so I technically still must follow those rules, but I know Nefru lives in the Imperial District, where he likely lives in a fairly nice place. And if there were a reason Nefru doesn't want to go to his living quarters, there are, I assume, higher quality dens in that district. But Nefru is paying, and I'm not about to be rude and question him now. I assume you're familiar with this type of place? I glance at him, and he smiles toothily. I realize then how bizarrely he's poised himself, having already dropped his Khemian garb, now just his underwear. I note that his undergarments are wolven, likely having had to make the switch after being here for over 3 years now. I swallow hard, ooh. I stare, taking it all in, feeling more nervous by the second. Sexual intercourse of any kind is forbidden on the grounds of Varro's University, so yes, I've been to a few. Nefru rolls his eyes, grabbing the bottle of the complimentary wine. And so is masturbation, I've heard. And here, I thought wolves were sexually liberated. God, I wouldn't be able to do that. Well, we are. It just happens to be the leading university on the moon, and the philosophy of the school does not include carnal thoughts. I'd find myself talking too much and trail off as Nefru leans casually against the armrest, drinking straight from the bottle. I attended the best university in the Galaxias, and there were rooms dedicated to the act on campus. I bristled just slightly at the dig at my school, even if it's true that most every famous school on Khemia is superior. Is it most or almost? After that comment, though, I decided to try some Khemian bluntness, about to ask why he's brought me here instead of his own place. Either way, why come to a den when... But then he walks up to me, right up close to me, to the point I feel my nose, about to bump the mound of his undergarments. Ooh ooh. Anyway, to celebrate your promotion, I thought I'd help you with your research on Khemians. Have you ever copulated with one? Can we thumbnail that? I'm not sure if that would be too risky. I mean, I guess as long as it's not sex. My throat is suddenly very dry, and I shake my head, even though I know he knows the answer to that. Well, the jackal stands up straighter, putting his physique on display. I want washboard abs at some point, though I need to not visit parents. Anyways, just as I had felt earlier, I see his fur is much shorter compared to mine, giving him the advantage of being able to show off the muscles of his chest and stomach. Then he grabs his undergarments and slides them down. Now time for the jazz bass. The jackal is moving boldly in a way that makes you wonder if he's trying to make it less strange for me, seeing Khemian anatomy in person for the first time. Although I know what to expect, I'm still left staring in fascination. Well, very different to my own, it fits well in his frame. Are you talking about his willy? And as he moves closer, I find myself reaching out, slowing my paws up his thighs, then back around to cup his rear. Ooh ooh. This is the moment that my hesitance drops, and I pull the jackal in close, kissing his bare awoo and abdomen, making him gasp. It's a long session of sorts, though not very much happens, as Nefru seems to simply enjoy touching me. Boy, that sounds great. Big guy touching you. Ooh. At first, I'm a bit confused, unsure if it's some sort of foreplay, but then I realize he's encouraging me to explore and touch back. And at some point, we simply ended up entangled together, lying there. His arms are around me tightly, and I can smell the wine on his breath. Maybe it's a bit rude, but all this makes me gently wonder if he's lonely. As our moments ease to stillness, I reach back and rest my paw on his shoulder, just in case he needs reassurance. Then I slowly fall asleep. I wake up, and what happens in the following moment is something that my mind is never able to fully process. The door of their den is open, and I wonder why, because it should have been locked. Is Nefru? I reach out for my glasses. I realized he's sleeping next to me, but that's when a large, dark figure stands up beside our bed. A wolf who I do not know. Some sense simply tell me that he's a stranger, and a male. There's something in his paw, and for a moment I try to yell, but nothing happens. The dark, blocky shape of his head turns in my direction, noticing me awake, and my insides turn to water. He moves, but then there's a harsh, ear-splitting crack, and before my eyes, I see the man, the sapient, bend and warp in a shape of wave before blasting apart. I'm splattered by a wetness, by smells and feelings I haven't felt since. The lights go on, floating around us, displaying the horror. Yeah, I was thinking it was going to end. We're going to be timed on this part. Which, it's interesting. Do I still have the previous Khemian files? Maybe. Would it be unfinished? Oh, hopefully I didn't get rid of that. Maybe save for later? Oh yeah, there it is. Just want to pause this. I actually put the thing down here, but and switch over to the next one. Seems a little bit loud for me. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this side play. And sorry that I'm kind of blue balling you, but it is what it is. Because it do be like that sometimes. Wait, there's two commands? Oh, maybe one of them was like, par one or like thing. Why would there be that thing there? Do I have that saved somewhere? I don't know where that part is now. Yeah, in the previous version, it's this. Where it's like, what the heck's going on? Yeah, good illustrations and all that. And anyways, that's going to be the... Sorry, like completely fumbled over myself. End of this. Comment, guys, like, comments, if you like, dislike, tips, tricks, otherwise, if you like my YouTube and like see it grow, then please like, subscribe, and check out other videos to help it grow, and please remember to spay new your animals to help control the pet population. And if you want to play this game, it's available free on itch.io, but they also have a Patreon for, like, you know, if you want to help them with... What are they doing? Because are they still doing the smoke room, or did that kind of go fully to George? Because I'm thinking it's like the other projects would just be Khemia and Interia. How would you say that thing? Interia. Huh. I like the idea of Interia. I don't know. Infrastructure projects are my jam. And yeah, until next time, another side play. GamerWolfSix of Khemia. So thanks and see you.